Hey everybody, it's Bonnie Hunter on February the 3rd, 2015. This is me in my basement studio, and we have not done Quilt Cam for over a month, and I've been missing it. I hope you've been missing it too. There's just been so much going on. My January was pretty hairy. I went from teaching over New Year's in Texas. There's a cord in the middle of my screen. I went from teaching in over New Year's in Texas straight to Arizona to teach for the Arizona Quilters Guild there. It was wonderful to be out in Arizona in January. And I got back and I had just a lot going on. I was home for about a week, and then I went to Georgia to go teach. I had a driving trip down there that lasted about another week. Came home, picked up a couple of friends in Charlotte on my way. My friend Randy from California and Lori from Oregon flew out, and I brought them up to Quilt Villa, and we sewed for a week, and it was just wonderful. And I am just home as of yesterday. So you can imagine what a lot of to-do is on the list before we can get Quilt Cam running. But it just so happens tonight that the hubby is playing tennis, and I'm home alone, and I am ready to sew. How about you? I hope that you've had a good New Year's. I'm trying to adjust the camera here so there's not so much stuff in the way. We have another side of another sewing machine there in our view. My studio is quite small. It's tight. There's a lot of machines in here, and we do the best we can with what we've got. I brought out tonight a project that I've not done on Quilt Cam before. You guys know that my absolute favorite unit is 4 patches. I will put 4 patches on everything. If anything stands still, I'll make a 4 patch out of it. It just is my favorite unit of all time. And I was asked about a month ago if I would participate in the American Patchwork and Quilting Quilt Along for 2015. And the theme is Go For It, F-O-U-R, Go For It, as in these quilts contain 4 patches. Well, that's easy for me. I had a lot already made, a lot of 4 patches already made. And the plan is that you get the magazine, which is on newsstands right now, or you can find it on the American Patchwork and Quilting website. And there are 3 quilts presented there. All of them use 4 patches in their design. One of them has 4 patches that finish at 2 inches. One finishes at 1.5 inches. One finishes at, gosh, what is that? An inch and or 2 inches or something. Anyways, there's 3 different sizes of 4 patches in 3 different quilts, and you can pick one or more to make and sew along with everybody else. Now this sew along, this quilt along, is being hosted on Instagram. So if you don't have an Instagram account, it's very easy to get one. If you have a Facebook account, you just use your Facebook login to log into Instagram, and the whole thing is about the hashtag. You know that song that it was all about that bass, all that bass? Well, this is all about the hashtag, the hashtag, the hashtag. It's APQ Quilt Along hashtag. And you can see what everybody else is up to. So it's like a Mystery Monday link up, but you can view that hashtag all the time to see who else is participating. You can follow them. You can comment on their photos and things like that. So it's really, really fun. You'll want to join in on that. And you can find me as the @ symbol, Quiltville_Bonnie. So you'll know who I am, and you can follow along with me, and I'm posting on mine. I have chosen Adidas design, which is called Scraptacular, to make. And so these are some of my 4 patches on point. And because this is a copyrighted design, and because it is in a magazine, we just had this huge copyright issue post on the blog yesterday. I can't give you sizes. I can't give you piece count. If you want to play along, go get the magazine. You can probably even order a digital copy if you're from somewhere else. You know, we want to protect our designers and keep them designing. So we don't do things like say, oh, just make me a copy, or oh, I'll go draft that myself. If you want your designers to keep designing, just go buy the magazine. It's just that simple. So what I'm doing is taking the little 4 patches that I worked on as my leaders and enders while I was up at the cabin, and I am adding corners to those. Now these corners, I was thinking I'm going to have to cut all of these corners because it takes 4 triangles to surround one 4 patch, and some of them get dark corners and some of them get light corners. And I was thinking as I was going through my scraps today, do I want to pull out some strips? These are an odd size. Do I need to cut strips down to size to make this work? And then I remembered I had some charm packs. My girlfriend Mary Koval does fabric for Wyndham, And she had, I should have taken a picture of the charm pack before I cut it up. But Mary, guess what? This is what your charm pack is going into. I love the charm packs from Wyndham because unlike other charm packs that are pinked at 5 inches, these have pinked edges at 5.5. So you can trim the pinking off and still get the sizes that you need. And I much prefer that. So if you're looking for charm packs, think of Wyndham. They're awesome. Now, when you're doing triangles on the outside of a square or 4 patch, you're doing a square and a square unit. I have my way that I like to do it. And with 4 patches, it's really, really simple. I like to align the triangle on top of my 4 patch. Some of you may want to sew with the 4 patch on top and the triangle underneath, but I actually sew with the triangle on top so I can make sure that this point stays right on the center seam line. Can you see that? Here's the point, and I want it right at the center seam line. And I'm going to work on 2 blocks at a time, using each one as the leader and ender for the other. It's going to be boring work. This is kind of a fussy thing. This kind of project, even putting the corners on, would be a great leader-ender project for something else. Just keep the pieces next to your machine, and the units will build as you go. Now, as far as the quilt along goes, I don't think that there's a deadline for it. And I am unthreaded. Well, that didn't go very far. Okay. You'll notice I am sewing today on my Electro Hygiene. Isn't that a funny name? 1950s, made in Japan. And it's just a wonderful quiet machine. But it does take side needle threading. So I tend to use that famous old, you know, grandma's old metal needle threader so that I can thread from outside to inside without having to put my head down on the table. I still have to get the threader in there, in that hole. As I get older, you know, some will have to deal with arthritis, some will have to deal with bad backs. I can definitely tell you it's my eyesight that's going to suffer. I was noticing while I was doing some hand quilting last night that it was really hard to focus on those little stitches. So I was doing it more by rhythm than watching what I was doing because I was focusing so hard on that small stuff. It's time to go to the eye doctor again. All right, so we got that going. We're going to sew a side triangle on. Can you even hear that machine? She is just so quiet. Not to mention it's just that really funky shade of Nile green or whatever that 50s green is. And I'm going to set these 3 triangles aside and start one with the next color. So I've actually got these separated into sets of 4. Half of them will get light corners and half of them will get the dark ones. And you can see the full quilt layout on the blog post for this feed tonight. And of course, you can get it in the April issue of American Patchwork and Quilting magazine. I'm going to just press this one a little bit out of the way. They are a little bit oversized. I like them just a little bit oversized so that I can go back then and square them up. I've decided, because I have bins of pre-cut squares, to do this pattern in my own size with my own measurements. But because it is Adidas copyright, I won't be giving out my sizes. If anybody wants to change the size, they need to figure that out on their own. It's just not mine to give. So the deal was, it went this way. I was made aware of people making videos, not only of the blocks I've done in my Addicted to Scraps column, which was not their content to deal with, but of the Grand Illusion mystery and the Celtic Solstice mystery, giving sizes and piece counts, people using my quilts, my blocks, for their content on their own Quilt Cam or as a YouTube video as a tutorial. And here's how it goes with copyrights. It's really kind of tricky. Number one, is it your content to make a video tutorial on? No. Did you get permission? No. If so, then don't do it. Okay, just don't do it, because as a designer, it ties our hands as to what we're able to do with that design in the future. If it's going in somebody's book, don't make a video tutorial of the mystery, giving away all the clues and the parts and the piece counts and the sizes. It's just not kosher. Did you have permission to do that? No, then don't do it. Giving credit is not the same as getting permission. So it really is about being respectful and being polite. Watch that etiquette thing there. Get the permission, or if not, just don't do it. Do something. It's best if you were going to do a video tutorial to come up with your own design and then just do it. So that's what the kerfuffle was about on the blog yesterday, and it's still a very good conversation. All right, now when I've got two sizes on, do you see how I've got the dog ears extending beyond the 4-patch? I need a straight place to lay the next triangle, so I like to trim those dog ears even with the side of the 4-patch. So this is kind of a messy process, and usually I just do this over a trash can, but that gives me a straight edge to lay that triangle on all the way across. I don't want the other dog ears sticking up over here, because they're going to bunch up against my seam guide and maybe not give me a straight place to sew. So now I've got this third one, and again, I am watching this point at the center seam here, so that I know when I flip this triangle back, that point is going to be centered. It's going to be square. It's not going to be some really wonky thing. I did size these up a little bit, but it's just the tiniest little bit. And you could, if I were doing all of these in all of the 4 patches, getting just one fabric as their 4 corners all around, I would probably chain sew, big long chains, and take them to the ironing board and press and snip there. But since each one gets 4 different corners, it's too hard to chain a whole chain of however many, and then come back and cut those all apart, press them all, and then put on the second side. So it keeps my work neater just to work on 2 units at a time. So here's this one, and you can see those dog ears sticking out. I'm going to just trim those. I'm going to have a bunch of dog ears on the carpet by morning, I can tell you this. Let me add one more side here, and then we're going to take some email and see what's going on. We also have a giveaway running on the blog, started this morning. I'm giving away 3 copies of the March-April issue of Quilt Maker magazine that has my twirl around block in my Addicted to Scraps column. So if you're on the blog watching this feed and you did not comment, scroll back to this morning's post and leave a comment there. I'll be drawing on Sunday night for 3 copies. I've got that triangle point right at the center seam, so I know it's centered. And we'll sew. All right. Coming along so far. We've got 3 sides done. I've got more than my 1/4 inch height here that I need. Same on this side. I've got to just add one more side. But let's check in and see who's coming. Because there is a giveaway going on, and there's already like 500 comments on the blog. I have my email comments turned off for the blog, because if I opened the floodgates, all of those "please sign me up for your giveaway" are going to show up in my inbox, and I'll end up with 900 things in my inbox. So I am going directly to the post, and we're going to check the comments that way today. We've got, great. Here, this is another Bonnie who says, "Bonnie, how are your quilts hung on your walls? What did you use to hang them?" This one here, I've got a narrow piece of molding. I guess it's just a little thin wood slat. It's not any thicker or bigger than like a yardstick. And there are holes in the end, and there's nails, and it's just hanging up there. The one that's tilted back here, that's a blue and white churn dash. It's just push pins. It's on an angle, and it's just held in place with push pins. I guess you can say that I'm old school. If the quilt is very small and not heavy, I'll just use push pins. So that's also what's hanging the quilt one that's on the wall back there. If it's big, I've got like my Dear Jane hanging behind the long arm over here. It does have a sleeve with a board that goes through it, and I put screw eyes on either end of the board, and then that hangs up on nails so that it's secure. The heavier the quilt, the more you have to worry about things sagging and pulling. But little things, I don't worry. Some little tiny things, I've even used just quilting pins to hold it to the wall. There's many, many ways to do that. Thank you for asking about that. Jane B says, I'm still at work, but tuning in for you to keep me company while I finish one last item on my to-do list. I am halfway through the blocks for Grand Illusion and loving it. Also working on some 4 patches for the APQ Quilt Along. Yay! Go for it. Michelle says, I'm working on my Go For It blocks too. 1.5-inch squares are my favorite, especially 4 patch or 9 patch. That's mine also. Glad to have you girls with us here tonight. And I'm going to check the email here. Now you'll notice that this is maybe a slightly different camera angle. I actually brought my old laptop home from the cabin. This is the one that it traveled with me on airplanes, and it was a plastic case, and the plastic on the hinges broke. So the whole thing works, but it's held together with tape, so it doesn't travel anymore. My travel one was just too much of a pain to travel with an external camera, so we're using this one. Here is Becky says, I tuned in 7 minutes late and missed which machine you are sewing on tonight. Becky, it's an Electro Hygiene. I know that sounds really funny. And if you check the blog post at quiltville.blogspot.com, you'll see a good full front picture of this. It says Electro Hygiene, which I guess also was a vacuum cleaner company, which makes more sense when you think about the hygiene part. I don't know how hygienic I needed to be sewing with this machine, but it was made in the 1950s in Japan, and I just love it. This one is Maggie Keller says, nope, there's no message attached there. April says, here tonight, video is very clear. Good, then we're doing well with that. Best I have ever seen. By the way, did you ever figure out who in Minnesota sent you that box? Wasn't from zip code 55976 that I know. It wasn't me. At least this box isn't from me. Well, thank you, April. The box had already gone out to the recycling, so I couldn't check, but I searched all through the fabric to see if there was a note inside, and nope, there was no note. It was just an anonymous box. I have a feeling it was shipped for my birthday, and somebody decided to feed the quilter. That's okay with me, because I've got Mona, who has absolutely no stash whatsoever, and it was really funny this weekend. Mona would come down from her cabin to sew at mine with Randy and Lori and myself, and every time she would come in to sew at her little borrowed featherweight, her stack of fabric was growing from scraps that on her machine. So she thought this was just the cat's meow, and it's so fun to help a new quilter out. Kathy Bonnell says, so glad to catch you live. I'm hand quilting tonight. Had a snow day yesterday and finished the last clue for the mystery. Can't wait to finally meet you in Tuscany in a few months. I can't wait. Tuscany is going to be the bomb. We will be there in May, which should be an absolutely beautiful time to be in Italy. The hard part for me is that I get home from Alaska like 2 days before leaving for Tuscany. So my body time clock is going to be completely upside down. The upside of that is I should have no trouble sleeping on the plane getting to Tuscany. I can't wait. We've got, I think, was it 40 people, something like that coming. It's going to be wonderful. And this one is from Lorraine, who says, you are certainly welcome in my home tonight to keep this sore-headed couch potato nicely occupied during my first day home from the hospital. Oh my goodness, Lorraine, my brain surgery was done through my nose. Oh, my friend, that's terrible. My brain surgery was done through my nose, and they harvested a large patch for the hole in my head from my septum. On the whole, doing well, but bored. Should be able to sit and sew this weekend. Hugs from Aunt Deranged. So we will all send well wishes to Lorraine, who is home and doing better. I'm glad to hear that you've kept your sense of humor. If they had taken that, I don't know what I would have done with you. Glad to hear from you tonight. Jen Hinwood says, there are 9 of us watching you at a Ricky Tim's retreat in La Veta, Colorado. Hello, Colorado. Please give Ricky a huge hello for me. I still love the picture I took of him at the Angel at Quilt Festival. You know, there's this concrete angel outside the convention center that everybody was stepping up to and taking their picture with because it made it look like you had wings. He was classic in his cowboy hat. I hope you gals have a wonderful, wonderful retreat. I want to sew just a little bit here. You know, when I told my husband that I was doing some quilt cam tonight, he said, "What do you mean quilt cam? It's talk cam." You don't sew. I don't sew a whole lot, but we sew enough to get these going. So that one will be finished. Now on the second set, I don't bother to trim these dog ears until I take them to the cutting board and I use my ruler to trim to make sure that I get a good square unit and that I've left a 1/4 inch of seam allowance all the way around the outside. So I like to watch, make sure that point is, with a 4-patch it's so easy because you know where the center seam is. If this was just a plain square underneath here, I would crease it in both directions so that I know where the halfway point is. But I like to sew these, whoops, almost put it the wrong direction, with the triangle on top so I can keep that centered. And I am one of those that always lifts up my presser foot to get the next patch right up to the needle. I find that things don't get sucked down the needle hole if I do that. Okay, so here's one that's done. I've got just a little bit more than my 1/4 inch so that I can square up and leave my 1/4 inch at all these points. Usually when I'm doing square to square units, I don't know about you, but for me, I always get this kind of curvy hump right here. There's a lot of bulk right here where these pieces of fabric overlap and they're all pressed out towards the outside. So these are the one unit that I do sew a little bit big and sliver trim down. The only other 4 patches that on point or squares on point that have come out for me are if I paper piece them, and those still end up with a lot of bulk in those corners. Okay, so let's see what else has been going on since we have last done quilt cam. Need another one of these. These fabrics are so super cute. This is one of the light ones. This is from Mary's line Tree of Life, and I'm just loving it. She gave it to me at Quilt Festival before our cruise, and I've been looking for a project to use them in. Okay, so here's this one, and it looks kind of crummy because I haven't trimmed it up yet. It's got the dog ears all coming out, but it's gonna be just so cute when it's done. Now my 4 patches themselves are made out of absolutely everything. I am just picking 2 neutrals, 2 colors. So I've got recycled shirt plaids, lots of neutrals, lots of every kind of fabric. If I end up trimming down scraps, and if the only thing I can get out of that scrap is a small square, whoops, and there goes half of them on the floor, then that's exactly what I will do. And I use this size all the time. Okay, so that goes to that. So where did those go? Okay. I picked up something and set down something, and now I have these set into sets of 4. Where did the other 3 go? On the floor? Oh. Well, we'll just set that one aside and start a new one. How about that? So this is the 3. This is the 3. There they are. Nope. Okay, we're going to start a new one, and we'll just set those aside. I lost the other pairs. That's what happens when you talk too much. Okay, so we're going to put blue on this one. So these don't take much fabric. They're a great leader ender project. You can size them however you want to size them. I keep tossing between, do I want to do this quilt as a bed size quilt? Because Adita, like me, or Edida, I keep pronouncing her name wrong, loves big quilts. And I love big quilts, but I'm thinking that my dining room table at the cabin needs a table runner, and that's just what I might do with these. I may just do 2 rows that are shown on the blog page in her pattern, and then do something in between them and turn it into a table runner. These are fun, Mary. I love these. Okay. Watched a lot of TV this past weekend. I moved the treadle machine in the basement at the cabin. Once the girls were gone, I had the whole place to myself. And the hubby had tennis all weekend, so he wasn't coming up to the cabin. So I rolled the treadle machine in front of the big screen TV. And I put it on stuff like Foyle's War, a couple other movies that were good, and just had fun treadling away. Now, treadling is slower quilting for me. I just don't go that fast. So it's not about the amount I can accomplish when I'm treadling. But it sure was a fun way to spend the day. Okay. Well, that one is extremely wonky. Oh, the 4-patch slipped. This is not a good sign. If your 4-patch looks crooked, check the back side, because I did the slipperoo here. We're going to fix that. New favorite seam ripper. This one was a gift. Absolutely love it. It's hand carved wood or lathe turned wood, but it's got a flat spot, so it's not going to roll off the table. It will stay wherever I put it once that flat spot hits the surface. So love that one. Fun tools are great. All right, let's resew this guy. It's a reject. Okay, that's better. So they're kind of fussy units, and they take a little bit of time, but it's worth it. If I can find the matching triangle for it. Okay. And yeah, I'm only finger pressing tonight. I'm not iron pressing at this point because we don't want these things to get misshapen. And the fabric pieces are not wrinkled. They're only needing a flat crease. So I just finger press. They will get a good press before being trimmed up though. Oh, I also have to tell you the funniest thing, and I forgot it upstairs. It's upstairs. But I ordered a t-shirt from Teespring. It had the funniest saying. It said, "I thought I should do something besides sew today." And then I laughed and laughed and laughed. Really funny shirt. I ordered a large. Okay, I'm not that big of a girl. I ordered a large. Their large is so small, I can't fit in it. So, and because it was a special order, I don't think I can return it. Because the size was sent to me that I ordered, I don't think I can return it. So be really careful if you are ordering from Teespring. Their sizes run very, very small. I'm not sure what I'm going to actually do with that t-shirt right now. I may gift it to a very small friend. But it was one of those things, you know, after the first of the year when everybody's resolution is, oh, I'm going to lose some weight, and you order a large shirt and it doesn't fit. That's mind-blowing. Okay, so here's another one for the pile, a light one with little 4-patch in the center. Let's check in with the comment section and see what's going on. We're going to go all the way back to the blog. I'm not having these comments sent to my email because I've got a giveaway going on and I don't want 900 comments to wade through in the email, but there's plenty coming into this post. So let's go, we're going to feed up from the bottom this time. Tammy Hutchinson says, thanks for sharing the Go For It blocks. I love 4-patches and I've started watching and I'm enjoying Foils War also. You're such a great source of all sorts of info. Not all of it important or necessary, but we are full of info. And this is from, it says, Gimme Clem says, was working on borders for your Bargello and plaid, but got stuck after auditioning a few of the plaids that I have enough of for the 5-inch border. I guess the dark one, waiting for my daughter to get home to get another opinion. Another opinion is always good. Oh, Anonymous says, your missing triangles got picked up and tossed into your tub of small squares. You know, you're probably right. They could be in there somewhere. We'll find them. No worry, no hurry. I cut enough to keep me busy for a while. This is from Margaret Morton, who says, you're always supposed to make your backing a few inches larger than the front of your quilt to allow for shrinkage when quilting. How do you manage that when using a pieced backing? I don't center anything. When I do a pieced backing, it is just that the seams and the pieces are supposed to just fall where they fall. And I usually plan on things being plenty off-centered. If you try to center something, like definitely with a pieced backing, don't try to make it one panel with an equal border all the way around. That will never work because the center will never end up directly center. So usually I do columns and then just let the columns fall wherever they fall. She says, I just imagine my outside pieces will look odd after trimming them down after quilting. I love odd quilts, so it's not a problem for me. But if you're really feeling like it's that you don't want a lot of small pieces ending up at the outside edge of your backing because you don't know where things are going to be trimmed off. So you can do a panel of pieced parts slightly off center, somewhere down the quilt, but leaving a good margin of whole fabric on either side of that pieced panel will make it look very fun, and it won't look like you just cheaped out on backing there. So I hope that helps for you. This one is from Kelly, who says, hello from warm and windy Colorado. Loving Quilt Cam tonight as I just finished hand quilting weeks worth of Baptist fans, and now I have an excuse to get working on my #2 Grand Illusion mystery quilt pieces. Love the Electro Hygiene machine. I do too, isn't it cool? I love the ones with the quirky names. I am just a sucker for oddball machines that were not really name brand. You know, they were like down the machine chain somewhere. She says, and I'll have to add that to my bucket list of vintage sewing machines just because of the color. It's just that, it's that green, you know, that green, you know, that 50s green. Okay, this one is from Lisa, who says, glad you enjoyed your quilt retreat at cabin with your friends. I wish I could do the same. I am finishing a patriotic folk art table runner with wool applique for my aunt for her birthday. Hope she will like it. Enjoy everything you do. So sorry about what happened with videos. People need to be more respectful. I think they just need to be more educated. The difference is, okay, so you can teach any of my patterns, any of the free ones from the website, any of the patterns in my books, any of the patterns in the magazines, as long as the students have their own copy of the pattern. They can print the pattern from the website if it's the free one, or you can give them copies of the free one. I don't mind with that, but it's nicer if they print their own so that they get to learn the website and what else is available. If you're teaching a pattern from my books, each student must have their own copy of the book, whether it's digital on their Kindle or it's a book that they've bought either in class or they've got it off of Amazon or whatever. What's not correct is if they come in with Xerox copies. Even if they say, I made copies for my own use and my book is at home, I just didn't want to carry so much. You can't do that. You wouldn't be able to do that with a textbook at college. You just can't do that. So please bring your book to class, bring your magazine to class, whatever it is. As far as it goes, I would feel perfectly fine if somebody wanted to make my pattern, they didn't want to buy the book, and their neighbor has the book, borrow the book, but don't make copies. I mean, we borrow books from libraries all the time, and the books get checked out, and the books get checked back in, and the books get checked out, and the books get checked back in. What doesn't happen is somebody Xeroxes the entire book in the library, takes it home and reads it. That's just not the way things go. So it's the same thing we've heard over and over and over again. Where it comes to with videos, it's a little bit different. A video is not like teaching a class in person to a group of students. If you make a video, you are publishing. You are publishing content belonging to somebody else, and that's where it crosses the line. And I think that where people are just not aware that they're not supposed to do that. And again, so it goes back to, is this your design? If the answer is no, get permission. If you don't get permission, don't do it. Giving credit is just not enough. So hopefully that will help. I've been in contact with some other designers this week who have had the same kind of thing happening. YouTube is so easy and everybody wants to share, and we're thinking that we're helping, but sometimes making that video in an effort to help somebody else is really hurting the designer who came up with the design in the first place, and that's not how the thing should be handled. So thank you for taking that into consideration and for buoying me up through this whole thing, and we will get through it. I do not think that anybody who did this did it with malicious intent. I think that they were people who really liked what I do, and they thought they were helping, and they thought that it was okay to share it this way, and they were just unaware. So I have no ill feelings, no angry desires to strike back and send lawyers up anybody's doorstep or anything like that. I just respectfully asked that the videos be removed, and they were. Some of the videos have only been made private. They have not been removed. And I'm not sure how I feel about that, because if somebody has made their videos private, it's still out there. It's still publishing. And so maybe in time we'll be able to get those removed too. But it's a process. So this is from Paul, who says, hey, Bonnie, it's been a long time since I was able to join you for Quilt Cam. Good to see your smiling face. Hi, Paul and family. Working on the Grand Illusion Mystery Quilt tonight as I watch and listen. Are you still doing photography, Paul? I hope so. I hope things are going well for you. Last I talked to you, you were still working on moving into a new house, and that was a couple years ago. So you've been AWOL for a while. Glad to have you back. Loanne says, first time I have seen Quilt Cam live, so welcome to live Quilt Cam. I am sewing tonight on an officer down quilts for those policemen who died in the line of duty. That is a great cause. Got to get it finished and in the mail by the end of the week. And that's Loanne from Shelburne, Indiana, where it's probably freezing cold, and I'm glad you're inside tonight sewing along with us. Robin Ziegler says, hello from snowy London, Ontario. Been working on Grand Illusion in between other UFO projects, and thanks for Quilt Cam. There's a lot of you working on Grand Illusion Mystery still. You know, it's really funny. We released that on New Year's Day. New Year's Day feels like forever ago, and it's only a month. It's only a month. It's only a month. So it's still not a race. Take your time at it and enjoy the process. I'm going to pull 4 little triangles here. I don't know where those other ones went, but there's 4 matching ones of this pattern. Here's the other blue for that pattern, and I got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. Okay, I'm making my stacks. They better not go on the floor. I probably rolled over them with the chair. I don't know. Okay, start another one. And I'm really not deciding which ones get the dark or light. What I'm trying to do is, if I'm using a colored one, I'm trying to use a color that is not either of these 2 squares. So I've got black going on in here and kind of a Christmas with metallic here, and this is kind of a rusty brown. So I think it'll be okay. But this is a great way to use charm packs if you're turning little units like this on point. I found that with a charm pack square, I could get enough triangles for 2 4 patches on point. And I had quite the charm pack stash that I had not gotten into for a while. So it's been a good way of using these. Okay. And this will probably just be an ongoing project through the year. I'm not in any rush on it, so I figure I'll make 4 patches as leaders and enders, and as I get enough of those done, then I'll have an evening or two where I just turn them all on point. If you're looking at the photo of Edida's quilt that's on my blog page for this post, you'll see there are about 1.5 gazillion units. I didn't even look at the number required. I just started making. I'll worry about that later. Lining up that point with the center seam of the 4-patch. Lift up that presser foot, get that edge right up to the needle before you start to sew. So here's a blue one. Very fun, coming along. All right, here's another one. Let's look for, the fabric I've got has blue in it, and I want to find something that doesn't have blue in it at all. How about purple and green? That works. So as I'm trying to be random, I am kind of selective in that I don't want a red fabric being sewn next to a red fabric that's in the 4-patch, because then that square is going to disappear. So I'm just looking for variations and differences. All right, trimming dog ears, even with the side of the square. And I just do that with scissors. I don't want to put a rotary cutter down and a mat down and a ruler down for absolutely every quilty thing I do. But I've got enough excess. Can you see there that there's going to be plenty to float this? It will be just fine. And then I trim them down. So basically I add whatever the measurement is, about 1/8 of an inch, so that I can float this just a little bit more and then be able to trim any bumpy parts down and get a good square unit. It's not often that I like to sliver trim anything, but I have never been able to piece square and a square units without some trimming somewhere. They just are odd. All right, there's 3. Now this was a directional print, and I am letting those directions go whichever direction they want, the same way it would be in an antique quilt. I love looking at antique scrap quilts and seeing that, okay, that stripe goes that way here and it goes the other way over here, and it just seems to have more life, more joy, more happiness, and definitely more interest than having all the stripes march the same direction. Trim corners. The top of my table is getting quite dog-eared. Okay. I love these little gems. They're fun. So here's another one for the done pile. And you can see that the stripes are just going higgledy-piggledy any which way that they want. And that's the fun of it to me. I love that when working with recycled fabrics or with scraps or whatever. It's just a lot of fun to keep them going. Here's the same print and kind of a gold. That's the thing about a fabric line, is that you get a lot of this going on. Here it is in brownish red, and here it is in gold, and here it is in black, and here it is in green, and there's probably in blue in there too. So these will be mixed into the quilt and set very, very far apart from each other. Usually one fabric line doesn't have enough variety for me, so I will be mixing this in with other things. We've got a message. Let's check what's going on here. Let's see, this message is from Subi, who says, yes, that's exactly what I saw in my head. I love that green. Oh, that was the message from October. This is the one. She says, I ordered the same shirt in a 2X, and it is very small too. I am loving this show. So Subi, what are we going to do with we ordered big shirts and they're tiny. So I'm not going to be ordering from them again. I'm just not. But I will find a quilty friend who is a tiny and give her a large shirt, which will make her feel like I think that she's large, but really maybe I should cut the tag out before I gift it to somebody. But I won't be ordering from Teespring again because their sizes are just, I mean, I take a large mostly because I need long, but not because I am a large lady. But even sounds like even an extra large wouldn't have done me well. Okay, so back to our message. This is, oh, awesome. Lori's been working on her top. There's a joke. She is always, she comes to retreat and she brings a bunch of stuff that's almost done. So it's like she sews for half an hour. Look, I got a top done. So she's got one more seam and this eagle patriotic quilt is done. You way to go, Lori. That's Lori from Humble Quilts at blogspot.com. I'm going to leave her a message. I just showed your quilt on Quilt Cam, exclamation point, smiley face. Oh, it doesn't like, you know, I've had the worst trouble with my voice to text. So one time it was foggy outside and I took a picture of the beautiful view, the fog on the mountains up at Quilt Villa, and I did voice to text. It's as foggy as pea soup out there. And I posted it. And then I was mortified because it spelled the wrong kind of pea, not PEA. And so I'm going like a crazy person trying to edit, and I blanket post. So when I post on Instagram, it goes to 2 Facebook pages, to Twitter, to Flickr, to Google Plus. And I'm going, oh my gosh, I typed PEE everywhere. So I'm fixing that. Well, last night I did voice to text on a quilt back that I was piecing. And I swear, when I'm watching the words go on the screen as I'm doing voice to text, it says piecing. And then I hit send, and it said I was PISSING. Not good. Not good. So this just says, this one I was just voice to texting says, I just showed your quilt on Quilt Count. Quilt Cam. Thank you. Okay. We had a lot of fun. We did some cooking. It was so nice to have other people do my dishes. It was just really, really great. Okay, into the email. This is from Anita, who says she's buried in half square triangles. Let's see if this comes up here. Come on, Anita's post. I am down in the basement, and so sometimes my reception is not that great. We may get back to Anita's post. Lynn from New Zealand says, wanted to share with you the quilt our little Facebook group made. One of our group is on the active list for a heart-lung transplant. We wanted to make her a quilt for her to take into hospital with her and for her recovery. We have all abilities of quilters in our group, so we chose Carolina Chain from your blog post. We decided to do it in blue and white, but 2 of the group wanted to applique hearts for it to show that the quilt was made with love for her. Of course, she cried. And she loves it. So here we are. Oh, that is so cute with the hearts in there. So they've got Carolina Chain in blues and whites, and then the hearts are in the colors there that you see floating in the side. Isn't this what quilters do? When the going gets tough, the quilters get quilting, and the quilters get giving. And that's what it is to be a quilter. That is absolutely beautiful. So Lynn, my best wishes to your friend. It's one of those things, it's very difficult to hope that there will be somebody who has registered as a donor that will gift their heart and lungs to your friend. We'll keep her in our prayers. Okay, Anita, is that going to open up? Yes, it opened up. Yay for Quilt Cam. She says, I'm joining late tonight, but so glad to be here. It's not that late. We've only been here 48 minutes. Thanks to the Grand Illusion Mystery and those cute little pink and turquoise bonus triangles, I have caught a severe case of half-square triangle-itis. Even though I have an easy angle ruler, I am totally hooked on making them using the triangle buddy method. Drawing lines can be done anywhere or anytime during my work breaks, at lunchtime, on a conference call, hanging out watching TV in the evening with the hubby. Love the jelly roll pens too. Like a quilter possessed, I dove into my rather extensive blue batik stash and cut a 2.5-inch strip off of nearly every piece I owned. Charm squares were quartered. The scrap bin was raided. This is a great post. Blue squares stacked up. Finally, yesterday I had a snow day. 2 newly purchased half-yard hunks of creamish batiks were slashed into strips and subcut into squares. The featherweight zipped along, and before I knew it, the neutral squares were gone, and I had 239 units to cut apart. That gave me 468 half-square units that will measure 1.5 inches finished in no time at all. That's the thing I tell people. When you're sewing things like this and the pattern says you need 369 of this, they're short seams. It's usually very short seams, and you can zip over that seam and nothing flat. So good for you. She says, I got to skip a little bit because it's a little bit long. She says, eventually there will be some variation of an ocean waves quilt, or maybe 2 quilts at the rate I'm going. I don't know. I know there's more shades of bluish fabric I haven't included yet. Aquas, turquoises, Caribbean blue. I think they are hiding in the green batik stash drawer. Tonight I'm trimming off a gazillion dog ears and having a blast. Thanks for everything you do. Well, Anita sounds like she's having a good time in the half square triangles, and I'm happy that she could join us tonight. Anita, I'm saving your post. That is wonderful, wonderful. So here's Lavella, who says, 4 patch in a square and leader and ender. Oh, such a beautiful green sewing machine. It's so hygienic. I know, it's hysterical. If you could see the front of the machine, check the blog post tonight. You'll see it. If you type in Electro Hygiene sewing machine in any search bar, it'll probably direct you to the post on my blog. So you'll see the front, Electro Hygiene. You mentioned a few minutes ago that sewing on your 4 patches in a square are going to be an ongoing project for the year. Will this then be yours and our leader and ender project for this year? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I've still got lozenges going, and I am not dedicating this as the leader ender project for the year, because I usually do that in the summer. So we've got some time, and maybe by summer we'll come up with another one. But if you'd like to join in on this one, grab your copy of American Patchwork and Quilting Magazine and choose which of the quilts you want to work on as your leader ender project. She says, and hey, Subi, great hearing from you too. Always meeting everyone when we hang around you, Bonnie. Having a wonderful time with Quilt Cam, and that's Lavella in California. So you don't have to do this as this year's leader and ender project. Usually what I do is in the winter time, you know, through the holidays, we have our mystery. And then come by summertime, we need another project. So that's when in the summer, I start the next leader ender project. So we've still got some months going on the lozenge project, and mine has kind of languished. So I better get going on that again. Sue McElvaney says, my daughter is engaged, and our family tradition is that my mom, me, and my sister make a quilt for the bride. And guess what? My daughter Erin requested Easy Street as her wedding quilt. Navy, pink, gray, and green. I'm so excited to make Easy Street #2 for her. Thanks again for the pattern. That's Sue in Southern California. That is completely awesome. I'm thrilled for her, and congratulations to your daughter. I am actually teaching Easy Street as a 2-day workshop this weekend for some quilters with the Gate City Quilt Guild in Greensboro, which is the next town over. It's about maybe 15 miles from me. And I'm looking forward to meeting some local quilters. That'll be a lot of fun. I've been lucky. In January, I try to have guilds that are local in case there's bad weather. I don't want to fly anywhere. I don't want to be stuck in Chicago. I don't want to be stuck in Washington, D.C. And so I try to stay south and stay warmer places. And it just turned out this year that I had, after getting back from Texas and Arizona, I had Georgia, which was a driving trip. Wonderful. Had a blast driving trip. About 5 hours down the road. And then I have Greensboro, which is just my next door neighbor. So I don't fly again until next Wednesday, which has been extra nice because I've had plenty of time at home. Lots of time to sew, which made up for the time that I lost doing the Great Book Vortex of 2014. These need to be, I've got all these same ones. We're just going to do them all. Doesn't matter. They're all going to be mixed up into something. So this is the black ones. I'm going to do it with the pink and the blue. I actually got to spend my birthday with a group of quilters in Georgia. They provided me with a cake and a shower of neutrals. How did I end up with 3 in a chain here? I was doing 2 in a chain. I'm talking and not thinking. So that was fun. And I got to use those neutrals this week while up at the cabin. So that was fun. And I actually left them at the cabin because I need a neutral stash up there. That's the one thing that I need. I may have a lot of other colors and fabrics and things that I've kitted that I can bring up there, but you can never have too many neutrals. So I left those up at the cabin as neutral stash. And then I drove on the night of my birthday. We left class by 3:30 and made it out of Atlanta traffic and made my way to Columbia, South Carolina, where I had a birthday dinner with my son out at Bonefish. He treated his mom to Bonefish, and that was awful nice. Stayed the night there and then drove up to Charlotte to pick up the girls. So it worked out really, really well. Okay. Another one for the light pile. Just going on here. Okay, so that one is brown, maybe this one. Nope, these are 1, 2, 3, 4. That's one. Okay, goes in that pile. There's only 3 of those. Oh yeah, I can't count worth beans. Okay. But we're making progress. So this does not have to be the designated Quiltville Leader Ender project for the year, but that's just how I plan on building my 4 patches on these for now. The reason being is that a baggie of squares is just really easy for me to take when I travel and work on stuff. Let's see, February. I have coming up a trip to Texas next week. Then I go to Florida, where I will be 3 venues. One in Tampa with a guild there, and I'll be teaching in Orange Park at Lynn Provencher's quilt shop, and then teaching at a retreat outside of Sarasota. So that'll be a lot of fun. And I think on that one, I may try to travel with a sewing machine that trip. I haven't traveled with a sewing machine for a while. Maybe I'll just email them and see if there's somebody who can loan me a featherweight while I'm there. Because it's 3 different venues, so there's a lot of moving around. Okay, one more, and then we'll do this. I can hear my phone buzzing from here. At least I remembered to put it on vibrate before we started to sew. Okay. Okay. I usually wait until the triangles are sewn on opposite sides before I trim dog ears off on both. We are making progress. This is going to be a long time coming quilt, I think. Okay, 14 new messages. Holy cow. What's going on here, girls? Randy is also plugging away at her tiny 4 patches. So awesome for that. The girls are having a conversation. They started a group chat on in our text messages, and now they're just carrying on without me because they know that I'm busy. All right, so we have here a message from the guest book. So let's check that out. If you don't want to leave your message in the comments on the blog post itself, there is a guest book in the left-hand sidebar, and you can leave a message there, and that also shows up in my email. If you wanted to email in your question or comment, the email address is quiltville@gmail.com. I think I was so excited to do Quilt Cam that I forgot to mention where you can send your comments. She says, live feed keeps ending, started again and starts from beginning. As weird since I tune in late and to rewind to get it to the beginning. Okay, I have no control over what YouTube does on your end. It could be your connection. What I would suggest that you do is just wait. It takes, once I end this broadcast, it will stop. and then it goes through a processing thing, and then after about 45 minutes to an hour, it shows up as an episode on my YouTube channel. So if you're having problems watching it on the blog or watching the feed live, if you just wait, you'll be able to watch it without interruption. But it will be a rerun, but it's just a temporary thing. I have no control over what happens to other people's connections. So I'm sorry about that. And back to the comments section on the blog post. I'm clicking links all over the place here. All righty, we've got 49th Parallel Quilter who says, when you switch machines, do they all fit in that same cabinet, or do you have to move furniture when you want to change machines? This cabinet here will fit anything that is class 15 sized. So there are different sizes of machines. So I did move this cabinet because last time I had the treadle machine over here for the last quilt cam that we did. But you know what? The treadle machines are on wheels and the cabinets wheel very easily. And they're really not that heavy. I've got them on carpet sliders, so they just slide. It's like, you remember those games that we had when we were little kids, and it was all those squares in a little plastic frame thing, and you'd have to slide one square over to move the other square down and over the other way, and you would move things. Yeah, that's my sewing room. So I've actually got 6 machines set up in here. There's 3 treadles and 2 vintage machines here, and another one in the corner that is set up for doing bindings. I leave the walking foot on it, and it's a big wide open space. So if I've got big quilts, I can do bindings over there. So it works for me. But yes, I move furniture, and that's fine. That's fun. The only cabinet I'm looking for right now is one that would fit a Singer 301. So if I find one, we'll end up with another cabinet in here somehow. Mary says, I'm putting blocks on my bed to make sure no 2 same fabrics are touching. Yeah, that's a design wall challenge. It's a design I did on EQ that I'm doing for a kids class at my local quilt store during spring break. I need to get my sample done. So she's busy working on that. And then we have Sherry Oxley, who says, I'm working on my red and white version of Cathedral Stars that I started when you were here teaching in Arizona. I haven't gotten very far yet because it's been a busy few weeks. We had a big 50th birthday bash for hubby on the 25th. Welcome to that wonderful 50th decade. And making that happen dipped into my quilting time, but I am back at it. It was so nice to finally meet you face to face. And I met Sherry while I was teaching in Arizona, and it was really fun to meet her face to face too. And her quilts are fabulous. She had such a great show and share. So really nice to meet you, Sherry. I hope to see you again in the future. Mr. and Lady says, great to be with you tonight. I thought I would share that I had a friend pass away this week, and I was able to take possession of 13 shirts to make into quilts for the children left behind. 2 of the girls are 16 to 17 years of age and are excited to help me make them. Even though this will be a time for remembrance, it will also be a time for learning. Thanks for giving me the ability to even attempt such a thing. And that's Deb and in Dallas. Deb, thank you for all you do. My heart goes out to those kids. It's so tough. Every day is precious. And we said this again with the gal waiting for her transplant in New Zealand, that you know, this is when the going gets tough, the quilters get quilting, and we might not know how to fix it. And there are things in life that you just can't fix, but we can make a quilt. And somehow that's enough. That's enough to make a quilt, to put our effort and our love into every stitch and to gift it to somebody. It's a hands-on healing, both for those of us who make it, who don't have words to really make anything better for those going through really tough times, but also for those who are learning, like these girls. They'll be able to focus their energy into this while also the time handling things that belong to their father, these shirts. And it's a giving thing, it's a loving thing, and they'll be able to hold on to that for a long time. So kudos to you, that's awesome. Kissy said, I'm watching you for the first time, Bonnie, and quite enjoying it. Thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in. Patricia Gibbs says, good to see you on Quilt Cam again. I'm piecing a batting and looking through my stash for the backing. The front of my doll quilt is the bonus half square triangles from Grand Illusion, turned into a pink, black, and white pinwheel doll quilt. I just could not let those bonus half square triangles go to the garbage. I have a scrap addiction, thanks to you, Bonnie. I can't let those go either. So there's so many projects I want to make with bonus triangles. People give you bonus triangles, then you're left with that chore of trimming them down. If you can make them into a size that's usable as you are making your own, then they're just ready to go. So that's worth checking out. Check under the Tips and Techniques tab at the top of the blog. Scroll down to B for Bonus Triangle Bonanza, and it will show you how to make a triangle buddy in the size that you need for the unit you desire, so that you can have units ready to go when these gifted projects come our way. Bun Bear says, I have a small group of quilty friends who are all at different skill levels in their quilting. I would like to get them all together for a weekend retreat, but need some suggestions about what we could work on and not have some people be lost and others be bored. Any ideas would be welcome. And that's from Tammy in Illinois. Tammy, the first thing that comes to mind for me would be a pattern like Scrappy Mountain Majesties. It's 8.5-inch squares of fabric, light to dark or contrasting color to contrasting color. Cut them into half square triangles, so 1/4 inch either side, and then you slice these into strips and rearrange. It's interesting enough to keep those who are more advanced interested. It's easy enough for those who are beginning to learn some things about dealing with triangles and things like that and still get a good result. As long as they are working with their own seam allowance when it comes to sewing those strips together, as long as their blocks are the same size as each other, the blocks will work. So it's built for success. If you have any other ideas for Tammy, leave a comment on the blog at quiltville.blogspot.com on this post for this Quilt Cam. Quilt Cam February 3rd, 2015, and then she can have your answers as for what you think would be a good one for her. Another one that would work really well for all skill levels, I think, would be the Smoky Mountain Stars. It's 4.5-inch squares, 2.5-inch squares, flip and sew or sew and flip corners, and you can get the bonus triangles out of those. So there's another one that would be challenging enough for all kinds of skill levels. July Baby 8 says, welcome from Woodstock, Ontario. This is the first time watching your Quilt Cam. I'm enjoying it. So welcome tonight. I read your blogs every day. They are entertaining as well as helpful. I liked looking at your pictures when you were on your trips. You know, this whole blog thing started out as just being my digital scrapbook. It was just for me. It was a way to record quilts I was working on, things that were going on in my life, my boys' lives as they were growing up. And this year, 2015, celebrates 10 years of blogging at this site. So 10 years, there's 10 years in here. Where did that go? So if you haven't started one yet, it's a great way to archive your pictures, archive your stories, keep it for future generations. You know, if anything were to happen to me, this is just a valuable resource for my family, for my loved ones, for friends, for readers. It will stay there. You know, so it's a very, very good thing. Anonymous, first time catching you. Boy, we have a lot of first timers today. Brilliant, you are amazing. And this is Gail from Northern Ireland. Gail, I love Northern Ireland. I was there just a year and a half ago, and I couldn't believe myself. It was June. Was it June when I was there? I think it was June. And it was the June of 2013, which Ireland celebrated its 3 days of summer while we were there because the sun shined and it was warm, and I actually got a sunburn out on the cliffs of Moher. And then we spent time walking around Belfast, marveling that, hey, it's 10 o'clock at night and it is still bright light outside. So it was just wonderful. I would love to come back. Okay, we got another one for the done pile. Again, stripes every which direction. If you can't beat them, just scramble them. You know, why make it so hard on yourself? So just keep those stripes going every which way. And let's see, got this green one going right here. We'll get these stripy ones out. My foot pedal keeps moving. I need to get a Velcro thing underneath it. Okay, dog ears off the sides. And centering those seams. It's worth it to take the time and be careful. One of the things that I did before I even hooked up for Quilt Cam was I took a couple of squares and I sewed them together, pressed to the dark, used my ruler to make sure that it measured what it was supposed to measure as a unit. And then if there's any adjusting to do, you do it from there. I switch out machines quite often. The thing I always check for is that I'm getting the same seam allowance no matter which machine I'm sewing on. So that's really important. If you switch from your Pfaff to a featherweight or your Bernina to a whatever, a Janome or whatever, sew a test seam. Every time you pull out that next machine, sew a test seam. Make sure. Right. One more on here. And you probably noticed I'm not a pinner, not at this point. There's enough room to sliver trim these down just a little bit, so it's not so crucial that I pin these. But when I start sewing these together, you can bet your sweet bippy I will be pinning to match points, because these little points here in the corners will need to meet the next block and stuff like that. If I did not want to match points, I'd probably be joining them with sashing or something so that I did not have to match points. So there's a time to pin and there's a time to not pin, and for me it all depends on if there's triangles and points that are going to need to match. Okay, so here's two of these. Here's one of these. That guy goes, there we go. Okay. Make sure that point on that triangle is even right with the center seam of the forepatch. It's been fun sewing with fabrics that, although these were charm packs, they didn't feel like they were really part of my stash yet because I hadn't sewn them. They weren't scraps left from anything. And so these feel like totally new fabric to me. So thank you to Mary Koval for the gift of her delicious fabric. And I've got some more sorting out to do here. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4 of these. Okay. I was kind of in a hurry, so I just stacked up those charm squares and trimmed them to the size I needed, but they were all different fabrics and different layers. So then I need to go and shuffle them out and make sure that there are 4 of each one to go with each block. So I was in a hurry to get this going. You're going to want this magazine because there's really, really great quilts in it. 3 wonderful quilts using 4 patches. Or, you know, if you have a 4-patch quilt that you have wanted to do for a long time, maybe you just use this as the jumping off spot to do that. Centering. Okay. And trim those dog ears. I will need to get a vacuum out here because this these dog ears are everywhere. All righty, let's check in. I'm going to go to the email. All the way to the top, we've got Patty Bannister, who says, watching and spinning last 24 pieces of Grand Illusion. Started so late because of traveling and no sewing machine access. That's a very good reason. And there is no deadline, so you're good. You can start it or finish it anytime. She says, I'm going to travel again, and my 4-year-old granddaughter and I will be sewing Hexies. Thanks for Quilt Cam, and she's in Texas. Hexies would be a great thing for a granddaughter to play with too. She could match your papers to whichever one that it was going to go with, and she could choose which ones were going to come together into the thing. You could probably even teach her to baste those. Elaine Green says, Elaine from Maryland, stash busting tonight by cutting my bin of odds and end fabrics into strips for scrap saver system. My kitty, Maisie, climbed into a small basket to keep me company, and she sent a picture. Oh, this is Maisie. And she says, pay attention to me, not that computer, not that fabric, not that sewing machine. Isn't she beautiful? Oh, she's gorgeous. Thank you for sharing her. She's got that look about her, doesn't she? I am more important than that sewing. Pay attention to me. So here is Pam, who says, I didn't get in on the start of Quilt Cam tonight. Didn't catch the size of the blocks. They are so nice. Can you share the size? No, I can't. I can't share the size because this is part of the Quilt Along with American Patchwork and Quilting magazine. And the pattern is in the magazine, so you need to pick that up so that you have the pattern, and then you can sew along with us. It's the April issue of American Patchwork and Quilting. If you visit the blog, there is a link to click to Moda Lisa's blog, and she has all of the information about the sew along on her blog post. So be sure to check it out. There are 3 different projects with 3 different sizes of 4 patches. Choose the one that will work for you. Because this is somebody else's pattern, I am sewing from Edita Sitar's Pattern Scraptacular. It's her pattern, it's her copyright, so I can't give out sizes or piece counts. Thank you for understanding. Okay, this is from Lucy in England. She says, hello from Oxford, England, first time live. What are you doing awake? That's what I'd like to know. England is about 5 hours ahead of me, so she's up in the wee small hours. Hope you found something to sew on while you are up with the insomnia, Lucy. Sally Simple Stitches says, here is what I have been working on and got it done for our Guild Quilt Show in March. It will be mounted in a barnwood frame, over 1,000 hexagons, 1/4 inch each. And I'm going to see if I can biggie size this. Will it turn? Okay, I can biggie size it that way. Oh my goodness. So she's got this all assembled. There's over 1,000 1/4 inch hexagons in there, and she's going to frame it. Isn't that beautiful? I just love this. I just love it. The colors are just awesome. Beautiful job. Thank you for sharing that, and good luck on the show. I'll take one more here. This is from Karen Nicholson on Quilt Cam. So glad to join you tonight. I'm finishing a baby quilt top using your 4th of July pattern. I downsized the measurement for this quilt. The new mom wanted San Francisco 49ers colors for her baby. The pattern is just perfect for it. My leaders and enders are blue and neutral 4 patches that I will now use for the Quilt Along. Thanks for all you do for the quilting community, and that's Karen Nicholson from San Diego. Well, everybody, I just heard the door go upstairs, which means tennis is over, which means hot tub awaits. And I haven't been in my hot tub for over a month, so I need to put an end to Quilt Cam for tonight. But I am thinking that I don't leave again for, let's see, if I leave on Wednesday, what if we were to meet again a week from yesterday? Let's shoot for next Monday. I'm thinking if I do Tuesday, I've got an early flight out on Wednesday, so Tuesday night won't work. Let's shoot for Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern time. I'll probably have more of these to work on. I may have another project going and start using these as the leaders and enders, because this could get really boring as a quilt cam for a long-term project. That spider web still needs to be worked on, so maybe we'll be doing 2 for 1 that night. We'll shoot for Monday night at 9 p.m. Watch for more information on the blog. It's been wonderful to spend time with you tonight. I hope that we have more opportunities through this year to do more of Quilt Cam. January was just a no-go. I was just too much gone. But when I'm here, we fit it in as often as I can. If it's still early where you are, you don't have to stop sewing right now. If you can kick out another hour of progress, do it. Put some stitches in. Have a good time. We will see you later on Quiltville. Bye, everybody.